I want to be honest with you about something I don't often share. There was a time early in my studies when I knew all these principles intellectually, but I was broke. Completely broke. I understood the subconscious mind. I'd read all the books. I could teach the concepts. I could quote the scripture and explain the philosophy. But I was living in a tiny room, eating one meal a day, sometimes not even that. And I was so confused. I would lie awake at night thinking, why isn't this working? I know the truth. I understand how the mind works. I believe in these principles. So why am I still struggling? Why do I barely have enough money for food? Why am I wearing the same threadbare clothes day after day? Then one night, and I remember this night so clearly, I was sitting in my small room and I had just finished writing a sermon about prosperity, about God's abundance, about how we're all meant to live in wealth and health and happiness. And as I looked around my bare room at my empty cupboard at the bills I couldn't pay, I felt like such a hypocrite. How can I stand in front of people and teach them about prosperity when I'm living in poverty? And in that moment of brutal honesty with myself, I realized something that changed everything. I believed the principles were true, but I didn't believe they would work for me. Deep down, beneath all my intellectual understanding, beneath all my studying and teaching, I felt unworthy. I felt like these laws worked for special people, for gifted people, for people who were born into the right families or had some advantage I didn't have, not for a struggling minister from Ireland who came from nothing. I had unconsciously created a category in my mind: people these laws work for, and people they don't work for. And I had put myself in the second category. That night, I started doing the one thing I'm going to teach you today. I began to change my inner conversation about myself. I stopped thinking of myself as poor Joseph Murphy who's trying to make it. I started thinking of myself, feeling myself, as Joseph Murphy who is already successful, already prosperous, already living the life he desires. Not someday, now. In my imagination, in my feeling, in my consciousness, I impressed my subconscious with a new assumption about who I was. And within months, everything changed. Not because I became worthier, not because I suddenly deserved it more, but because I changed the image I held of myself in my subconscious mind. If you're watching this feeling like this sounds good but it won't work for me, if you're thinking these principles work for other people but you're different, you're the exception, I understand that feeling completely. I've been there, I've lived in that consciousness, and I'm going to show you exactly what I did to change it. Because if it worked for me in my doubt, in my poverty, in my feeling of unworthiness, it will absolutely work for you. Can I tell you something? The fact that you're here right now watching these words, this is not an accident. Nothing is an accident. You might think you just stumbled upon this video, but I want you to understand something deeper. Your subconscious mind has been working beneath the surface of your awareness, and it has guided you here because something in you is ready. Ready for a change. Ready to stop struggling with money. Ready to finally understand why financial freedom has felt so hard to reach. And I'm here to tell you that what you're about to learn isn't just theory. It's not just hope. This is law. As reliable as the law of gravity. And once you understand this law and begin to apply it, money will stop being something you chase and become something that flows to you naturally. Now I know what you might be thinking. You've tried things before. You've tried affirmations, maybe you've tried vision boards, you've tried thinking positive thoughts, and you're still struggling. You're still worried when you look at your bank account. You're still feeling that knot in your stomach when the bills come. You're working hard. Maybe you're working harder than anyone you know, but the money just isn't there the way you need it to be. And you're starting to wonder if there's something wrong with you. If maybe you're just not the kind of person who gets to have financial freedom. Let me tell you right now, there is nothing wrong with you. You are not broken. You are not cursed. You are not being punished. What's happening is simple, and once you understand it, once you really understand it, everything changes. The reason money has been hard is not because of the economy. It's not because of your boss or your job or your education or where you came from. It's because of one thing and one thing only. The programming in your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is creating your financial reality right now, this very second, not tomorrow, not next week, right now. And here's what most people don't understand. Your subconscious mind doesn't care if you succeed or fail. It has no judgment. It simply accepts whatever you've been impressing upon it and creates circumstances to match. For years, maybe for your whole life, You've been impressing it with worry, with fear, with the belief that money is hard, with the feeling of not enough. Every time you've looked at your bank account with dread, every time you've said, I can't afford this, every time you've felt that anxiety in your chest about bills, you've been programming your subconscious mind, and it's been faithfully creating more situations for you to worry about. But here's the beautiful truth, the truth that changed my life and the lives of thousands of people I've worked with over the decades. You can change this programming. You can reprogram your subconscious mind starting right now. Not through force. Not through more hard work. Not through grinding yourself into exhaustion. Through understanding. Through feeling. Through a simple practice that takes just a few minutes a day. Now, I'm going to be very direct with you about what you're going to learn in our time together, because I want you to understand the value of staying with me here. First, you're going to learn why you seeing this video right now is evidence of a law at work, the law of synchronicity. Your subconscious has brought you here. Second, you're going to understand the real reason for your current money situation. It's not about your worth as a person. It's not about how hard you work. It's about one specific pattern that's been running in your subconscious mind, probably since childhood. Third, I'm going to teach you the exact difference between wishing for money and impressing your subconscious mind with wealth. Most people are wishing. Very few people understand how to impress. Fourth, you're going to learn the feeling language that your subconscious responds to. Words don't work. Affirmations alone don't work. But feeling, that's the secret. Fifth, I'm going to show you why your affirmations haven't worked and what to do instead. Sixth, you're going to get a 3-minute evening practice that will reprogram poverty consciousness into wealth consciousness. And finally, you'll learn how to recognize when your subconscious is shifting, the signs that money is coming before you actually see it in your physical reality. I know what some of your pain points are, because I've heard them thousands of times. You're working so hard, but you're still struggling financially. You've tried affirmations and vision boards and everything people told you to try, but nothing changes. You feel guilty wanting money, like maybe it's not spiritual to want wealth. Money seems to slip through your fingers no matter how much you make. You're afraid to hope because you've been disappointed so many times before. You don't understand why some people seem to attract money so easily while you struggle, and you're scared to even look at your bank account. You live with this constant financial anxiety. Am I right? If you're feeling any of these things, I want you to know that you're not alone. And more importantly, there is a way out. Not someday, not when your circumstances change, right now. Now, I've worked with people from every walk of life. Wealthy people who lost everything. Poor people who built fortunes. And I've seen the same pattern over and over again. The people who transform their relationship with money don't change their circumstances first. They change their consciousness first. And then the circumstances follow as naturally as night follows day. This is law. And I'm going to show you exactly how it works. Let me paint a picture for you. Where you are right now, you're probably checking your bank account with dread. You feel that knot in your stomach when bills arrive in the mail. You try to be positive, but underneath, you don't truly believe things will change. You feel like you're pedaling as fast as you can, but staying in the same place financially. Does that sound familiar? Now let me show you where you're going. You're going to wake up with a quiet knowing that you're provided for. You're going to see opportunities appearing that you didn't have to force or chase. Money is going to come from unexpected sources. You're going to have a deep, unshakable peace about finances. Not because you suddenly have millions of dollars, but because you understand the law and you trust it. You'll know in your bones that you're always taken care of. And that peace is worth more than any amount of money. Now, I need to clear up some misconceptions before we go further, because these misconceptions keep people stuck. First, you don't attract money by thinking positive thoughts. You attract it by feeling wealthy in your consciousness. There's a big difference. Second, you don't need to know how the money will come. Your job is the assumption. Your job is the feeling. The subconscious mind handles the how. Third, wanting money doesn't make you less spiritual. Poverty doesn't make you more holy. That's a lie that's kept good people stuck in lack for centuries. Fourth, this isn't wishful thinking. This is applied mental science with a spiritual foundation. There's a law at work here. What makes what I'm teaching different from everything else you've heard? I'm not going to tell you to just think positive and hope for the best. I'm not going to give you complicated rituals or tell you to buy crystals or do things that feel silly to you. This is about understanding your mind the way a gardener understands soil. A gardener knows exactly what to plant, how deep to plant it, when to water it, and then he trusts the harvest will come. He doesn't dig up the seeds every day to check if they're growing. He plants and he trusts the law of growth. That's what we're doing here. I'm going to give you the precise method rooted in both psychology and spiritual truth that has worked for thousands of people over decades. This isn't New Age speculation. This is ancient wisdom confirmed by modern psychology. And I want to create an emotional connection with you right now, because I need you to know that I understand. I know what it's like to be afraid, to want something better but not dare to hope, to feel like you're doing everything right but getting nowhere. I've been in that dark place where you count every penny and you wonder if you'll ever get ahead. I also know what it's like on the other side. Not when you have all the money you could ever want, but when you finally trust that you'll always be provided for. When you wake up without that heavy weight on your chest. When you can make decisions from peace instead of panic. That state of consciousness is available to you right now. Not someday when your circumstances change, right now. And I'm going to show you how to access it. So let me start by telling you some stories, because stories help us understand these principles in a way that intellectual explanation alone cannot. These are real people I've worked with over the years. Their names have been changed, but their experiences are true. And as you listen to these stories, I want you to pay attention not just to what happened, but to what they did in their consciousness that allowed it to happen. The first story I want to tell you is about a young man who came to one of my lectures many years ago. He was working as a bank teller, and he had been in that same position for 5 years. Every single day, he would stand behind that counter and watch wealthy people come in. He would see them making deposits of amounts that were more than his entire yearly salary. He would watch them withdraw large sums of money casually like it was nothing. And inside him, something bitter was growing. He resented these people deeply. He would look at their expensive clothes, their confident manner, the way they barely glanced at him as he processed their transactions, and he would think, they don't even see me. I'm invisible to them. They probably think I'm nobody, just a low-level employee. They have no idea how hard I work. They have no idea what it's like to struggle to pay rent, to watch every penny, to feel stuck, and that bitterness poisoned everything. He felt unappreciated at work, stuck in his low-paying position with no way out, trapped in a life that felt smaller every day. He would go home at night to his small apartment and he would complain to his wife. Every evening, the same conversation. It's not fair. These rich people, they have it so easy. They probably inherited their money. They probably had connections, family businesses, advantages I'll never have. I work hard every day and what do I have to show for it? We can barely afford this apartment. We never go anywhere. We never do anything. What's the point of working so hard if we're just going to stay poor our whole lives? His wife would try to encourage him, but he was stuck in this pattern of thinking, this pattern of feeling, and the more he thought this way, the more stuck he became. One night, his wife had heard about one of my lectures happening at a local church. She said, "Please just come with me. Maybe it will help." He didn't want to go. He thought it would be a waste of time, probably just some preacher asking for money. But she insisted, and because he loved her, he agreed. He sat in the back of that church with his arms crossed, skeptical, defensive, ready to dismiss everything I said. But as I began to speak, something I said caught his attention. Something penetrated through his wall of bitterness. I said that your subconscious mind doesn't respond to words. It doesn't respond to wishes or hopes. It responds to feelings. And if you want to change your circumstances, you must change the feeling state you're living in. You must change the emotional atmosphere in which you dwell. Every day you're broadcasting an emotional signal, and your subconscious mind is receiving that signal and creating your life to match it. If you're broadcasting resentment, bitterness, the feeling of being stuck, of being less than, of being invisible, your subconscious will create more circumstances to make you feel resentful, bitter, stuck, less than, and invisible. But if you change the feeling, if you change the inner state, your subconscious must create new circumstances to match the new state. After the lecture, he waited until most people had left, and then he came up to me. I could see the conflict in his face, part hope and part skepticism. He said, "Dr. Murphy, I want to make more money. I need to make more money, but I don't know how. I'm just a bank teller. I don't have a college education. I don't have family connections. I don't have money to invest or start a business. I'm stuck. What am I supposed to do?" I looked at him, and I saw myself years earlier feeling trapped, feeling limited, and I said something that surprised him. I said, "You don't need to know how. In fact, trying to figure out how with your limited conscious mind will only limit the ways it can happen. Your conscious mind can only see the obvious paths, and those paths look blocked to you right now. But your subconscious mind is infinitely intelligent. It knows ways and means you cannot imagine. Your job is not to figure out how. Your job is to change your consciousness, to change how you see yourself, to change how you feel about yourself." He looked confused, so I explained it more simply. "Right now," I said, "you see yourself as just a bank teller, just someone who's stuck, someone who's less than those wealthy customers. Every day you reinforce this image of yourself. You feel small, you feel invisible, you feel resentful, and your subconscious mind is taking all of these feelings and creating your life to match them. You want to change your circumstances? Then change your consciousness first. Instead of feeling resentful when you see wealthy people, instead of feeling small and stuck, you need to start feeling as if you are the person you want to become." I told him, "Every night before you go to sleep, I want you to do something very specific. Lie in your bed, close your eyes, and imagine that you're no longer a teller behind a counter. Imagine that you're in a position of leadership at the bank. Don't watch yourself like a movie. Be there, first person. Feel what it would be like to sit in a different office, a better office. Feel what it would be like to make important decisions that affect the bank. Feel what it would be like when people come to you for advice, for approval, for leadership. Feel what it would be like to be respected, valued, seen. Feel what it would be like to have the income that comes with that position, to be able to take your wife to nice dinners, to not worry about every expense, to feel secure. And here's the most important part," I told him. "Don't just think about this for a few seconds and then let your mind wander to your problems. Stay in that feeling. Really inhabit it. Let it become real to you emotionally. Your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between a real experience and one that's vividly imagined with feeling. Both create the same impression. So impress this new reality on your subconscious mind every single night. Fall asleep in that feeling. Let it be the last thing in your consciousness before you drift off." He agreed to try it, though I could see the doubt in his eyes. For the first few nights, he told me later when he came back to see me months afterwards, it felt ridiculous. He would lie there trying to imagine himself as a manager or executive, and his mind would immediately say, "Who are you kidding? You're just a teller. You barely finished high school. These people went to university. They have degrees. They have experience you don't have. You're dreaming." His mind would wander to his bills, to his frustrations, to all the reasons it couldn't happen. But he had made a promise to his wife, and he had made a promise to himself, to try this for at least 30 days, so he kept doing it. Every single night, even when it felt silly, even when doubt screamed at him, he would lie in bed and imagine, and slowly, something began to shift. Not in his circumstances at first, but in him. After about a week, he noticed that the imagining was getting easier. He could stay in the feeling longer. It started to feel less like pretending and more like remembering something that was already true. And something interesting started happening during his days at work. His attitude began to change. Where before he would see wealthy customers and feel resentful, now he found himself curious. He started noticing things about them. How they talked. How they carried themselves. What they discussed. He began to listen when they talked about their investments, their businesses, their strategies. He started asking questions, showing genuine interest in how the bank operated beyond his small teller window. Before, he had just done his job and gone home. Now he was actually interested. He was learning. And he stopped complaining. His wife noticed it first. She told me later that it was like living with a different person, where before he would come home and immediately start on about how unfair everything was. Now he would come home and talk about interesting things he learned, about ideas he had, about opportunities he was noticing. His energy completely changed, and people at work noticed too. He started dressing a little better. Nothing expensive. He still didn't have money for that, but he took more care. He pressed his shirts. He polished his shoes. He stood up straighter. He made eye contact with customers instead of looking down. He smiled more. And when I say he smiled more, I don't mean he forced fake smiles. He genuinely felt different inside, and it showed on his face. He was carrying himself with more confidence, more presence, and people respond to that. Within 6 months, something happened that he never would have predicted. His supervisor, a man who had barely spoken to him in 5 years, called him into his office. He said, "I've noticed something different about you lately. You seem more engaged, more interested in the work. We have a management training program, and I'd like to nominate you for it. Are you interested?" This young man, who 6 months earlier had felt invisible and stuck, was being offered an opportunity. He accepted, of course. The training program was in the evenings after work, and it was demanding, but he was energized by it. He was learning about finance, about banking operations, about leadership, things he never thought he could understand, he was understanding, and more than that, he was excelling. Within 2 years of starting that practice of impressing his subconscious mind every night, he was promoted to assistant manager. Within 5 years, he was vice president of that same bank where he had been a bitter, resentful teller. When he came back to see me after he became vice president, I barely recognized him, not just because he was wearing an expensive suit instead of the uniform of a teller. It was his whole presence, his whole being. He radiated confidence, success, abundance. And he said to me, "Dr. Murphy, I need to tell you what really happened. Yes, I got the promotions and the money. But what really changed was me. I stopped being a victim. I stopped resenting other people's success. I stopped feeling small. I changed who I believed I was. And when I changed that, everything else had to change to match it." And then he said something I'll never forget. He said, "The strangest thing is, looking back, I realized the opportunities were probably always there. The training program existed before I ever came to your lecture. My supervisor was probably always looking for engaged employees to develop. The knowledge was available for me to learn. But I couldn't see any of it because I was trapped in a consciousness of limitation, resentment, and feeling stuck. The moment I changed my consciousness, it was like someone turned on the lights. I could suddenly see paths that were invisible to me before. This is law. When you change your inner world, when you change how you see yourself and feel about yourself, your outer world must change to match it. The circumstances rearrange themselves. Opportunities that were there but invisible suddenly become visible. People who could help you are suddenly drawn to help you. Doors that seemed locked suddenly open. Not because the universe suddenly decided to favor you, but because you changed the signal you were broadcasting, and life responds to the signal. Now, did this happen because he wished for it? No. Did it happen because he worked harder than everyone else? Not exactly. It happened because he changed his consciousness first. He impressed his subconscious mind with the feeling of already being the person he wanted to become, and his subconscious mind, which controls your actions, your words, your energy, your very presence in the world, it began to create circumstances to match that inner conviction. This is law. When you change your inner world, your outer world must follow. But there's something else important in this story that I need you to catch. His biggest shift happened when he released the resentment. You see, you cannot feel poor about other people's wealth and feel wealthy yourself. When you resent someone's success, when you judge people who have money, you're telling your subconscious mind that money is bad, that rich people are bad. And your subconscious, which only wants to protect you, will keep money away from you so you don't become one of those bad rich people. This is why blessing others is so important. When you see someone with something you want, instead of feeling envy or resentment, you say silently, "I bless that person's abundance. There's enough for all of us. What I see in them, I attract to myself." This changes everything. Let me tell you another story that demonstrates this principle in a different way. This one is about an elderly woman, a widow. Her name was Margaret, and her husband had passed away suddenly from a heart attack. They had been married for 40 years, and he had always handled all the financial matters. She had trusted him completely, never worried about money because he took care of everything. And then one day he was gone, and she was left alone with stacks of bills she didn't understand, accounts she didn't know existed, and a mortgage she didn't know how to pay. She would sit at her kitchen table every morning, and those bills would be right there in front of her. The mortgage statement, the utility bills, the credit card bills that her husband had been using for expenses, medical bills from his final hospital stay, insurance bills, tax bills. Every time she looked at them, she felt that sick, sinking feeling in her stomach, that feeling of dread, of panic, of being overwhelmed. She had a small pension from her husband's company, but it wasn't enough to cover everything, not even close. And she had no idea what to do. She would wake up in the middle of the night, heart pounding, thinking about those bills. She would lie there in the dark in the bed she had shared with her husband for 4 decades, feeling so alone, so afraid, so helpless. During the day she would try to distract herself, but the bills were always there, always in the back of her mind, this heavy weight crushing her. She stopped seeing her friends because she was too ashamed to tell them about her situation. She stopped going to her church because she couldn't bear to face people. She felt like she was drowning, and there was no one to save her. Finally, one of her neighbors, a kind woman who noticed that Margaret hadn't been outside in weeks, came to check on her. When Margaret opened the door, this neighbor could see immediately that something was very wrong. Margaret looked like she had aged 10 years. Her eyes were hollow, her face was drawn, she had clearly been crying. The neighbor came in, made tea, and Margaret broke down and told her everything. About the bills, about the fear, about feeling so lost and alone and hopeless. This neighbor happened to know about my work. She had attended some of my lectures and read my books. She said to Margaret, "I want you to come with me to see someone. His name is Dr. Murphy, and he teaches about how the mind works. I think he can help you." Margaret was reluctant. She thought, what can a lecture about the mind do about real bills that need real money? But she had no other options, and she was desperate, so she agreed to come. She came to my office, and she sat across from me with tears streaming down her face. She had brought one of the bills with her, and she put it on my desk with a shaking hand. She said, "Dr. Murphy, I've been praying and praying for money. Every night I get on my knees and I beg God to help me. I tell him I need money to pay these bills. I tell him I'm a good person, I've tried to live a good life, I don't understand why this is happening to me. But God isn't listening. The bills keep coming. More and more of them. I don't know what to do. I'm going to lose my house. The house where I raise my children. The house full of memories of my husband, I can't lose it. But I don't see any way out." I let her cry for a few moments, and then I said something that surprised her, that even shocked her a little. I said, "God is listening. God is always listening. But you're not speaking the right language." She looked up at me, confused, maybe even a little offended. "What do you mean, not the right language?" "I'm praying. I'm asking God for help. What else am I supposed to do?" I said, "Margaret, let me ask you something. When you pray, how do you feel?" She thought for a moment and said, "I feel desperate. I feel scared. I feel like I'm begging." I said, "Exactly. And what do you feel when you look at these bills?" She said, "I feel sick. I feel that horrible feeling in my stomach. I feel afraid. I feel powerless." And I said, "Every time you look at those bills with that feeling of fear and dread, every time you pray from that place of desperation and begging, you're not impressing your subconscious mind with the solution, you're impressing it with the problem. You're programming it with lack, with fear, with helplessness. And your subconscious mind, which is creating your reality, is faithfully giving you more situations to feel fearful and helpless about." She didn't fully understand yet, so I explained it another way. Your subconscious mind is like a garden. Whatever you plant in it will grow. For weeks now, you've been planting seeds of fear every time you look at those bills. Seeds of desperation every time you pray. Seeds of lack every time you think about money. And your subconscious garden is growing exactly what you planted. More bills to fear, more situations to feel desperate about, more lack. You're creating the very thing you don't want because that's what you're impressing on your subconscious mind. Now I could see something shifting in her face. A little bit of understanding starting to dawn. She said, "So what do I do instead? How do I change it?" And I said, "We're going to change what you're impressing on your subconscious mind. Instead of impressing fear and lack, we're going to impress peace and abundance. Instead of feeling the problem, we're going to feel the solution." I taught her something very simple but very specific. I said, "First, stop looking at those bills as if they have power over you. They're just pieces of paper. They're just information. They have no power except the power you give them with your emotion. Stop giving them your fear. Stop letting them control how you feel. When you see them, instead of that sick feeling, you're going to practice feeling neutral. They're just paper. That's all. Second, starting tonight, every evening before you go to sleep, you're going to do something different. You're not going to pray from desperation anymore. You're not going to beg God to please send money. Instead, you're going to close your eyes and feel what it would be like if all those bills were already paid. Not someday. Now. Already done. How would you feel?" She thought about it and said, I would feel so relieved. I would feel like I could breathe again. I would feel grateful. I would feel peaceful. I would feel like I could sleep through the night again. I said, exactly. Those feelings. Relief, gratitude, peace. That's what you're going to impress on your subconscious mind every single night. Close your eyes and generate those feelings in your body right now, before the bills are paid. Don't think about how it will happen. Don't try to figure out where the money will come from. Just feel the end result. Feel the relief. Feel the gratitude. Feel the peace. Let those feelings fill your entire body, and fall asleep in those feelings. Let them be the last thing in your consciousness as you drift off to sleep. And during the day, I told her, whenever you think about the bills, whenever that fear starts to rise up, stop, take a breath, and return to the feeling of relief and peace. Return to gratitude. Thank you that these bills are paid. Thank you for the abundance that is flowing to me now. Thank you for the perfect solution that infinite intelligence is revealing. Don't say it like a robot. Feel it. Even if you have to fake it at first, feel it. She looked at me with doubt still in her eyes, but also with a tiny spark of hope. She said, I'll try. I don't know if I can do it, but I'll try. I said, that's all I ask. Try it for 3 weeks. Just 3 weeks. Do this every single night and practice it during your days, and then come back and tell me what's happened. She left my office that day, and she was committed to trying it even though doubt was still very much present. That first night, she told me later, was the hardest. She lay in her bed, the same bed where she had spent so many nights awake with worry, and she tried to feel relief and gratitude for bills that weren't paid yet. Her mind kept saying, this is ridiculous. The bills are still there. They're not going to disappear just because you imagine they're paid. This is just pretending. This is denial. You're going to lose your house. But she had promised to try for 3 weeks, so she pushed through the doubt. She closed her eyes and she asked herself, if I woke up tomorrow and somehow all these bills were taken care of, how would I feel? And she let herself feel it, really feel it, even though her mind was screaming that she was being foolish. She felt the relief in her chest, like a heavy weight lifting. She felt her body relaxing in a way it hadn't relaxed in months. She felt gratitude rising up. Thank you. Thank you that these bills are paid. Thank you that I'm provided for. And she fell asleep in that feeling. The next morning, the bills were still on her kitchen table. Nothing had changed in the physical world, but something had changed in her. That constant knot of anxiety in her stomach was slightly less tight. She still felt fear when she looked at the bills, but it wasn't quite as overwhelming. And she remembered what I had told her. When the fear rises, return to the feeling. So she took a breath, closed her eyes right there at her kitchen table, and for just a moment she returned to the feeling of relief and peace. Just for a moment. And then she went about her day. She did this every single night. Some nights it was easier than others. Some nights the fear was so strong she could barely feel anything but panic. But she kept doing it. She was disciplined about it because she had nothing else to hold on to. This practice, this feeling, it was like a life raft in a stormy ocean, and she clung to it. Every night the feeling of relief and gratitude. Every day returning to that feeling whenever fear arose. About 10 days into this practice, she was sorting through some old files, some paperwork from her husband's office that she had been too afraid to go through, and she found a letter from an insurance company. It was about a small life insurance policy that her husband had taken out years ago, a policy she didn't know existed. She called the company, her heart pounding. Could this be real? Was there really money there? After providing information and going through their process, they confirmed it. Her husband had been paying premiums on this policy for over 20 years. It wasn't a fortune, but it was enough to pay several months of her most pressing bills. She sat there holding that check when it arrived in the mail a week later, and she cried. But this time they weren't tears of despair. They were tears of relief, of gratitude, of something that felt like maybe, just maybe, she was going to be okay. She paid the bills that were most urgent, and for the first time in months, she could breathe. She called me and said, Dr. Murphy, something happened. Money came. It was there all along, I just didn't know about it. But that wasn't the end of the story. 2 weeks after that, her son called her. He had been struggling financially himself. She had been so ashamed to ask him for help, but he called with good news. He had received a promotion at his job, a significant raise, and he said, Mom, I want to help you. I know things have been hard since Dad died. I'm making more money now, and I want to help with your expenses. Let me cover some of these bills." She protested at first, didn't want to be a burden, but he insisted. He wanted to do this. He was happy to do this. So that became another source of relief, another answer to what had seemed like an impossible problem. And then about a month into her practice, she was speaking with someone at her bank about her situation, and they mentioned that she might be able to consolidate some of her debts at a much lower interest rate. Something called debt consolidation that she had never heard of before. She looked into it, and she discovered that she could combine several of her high-interest credit cards into one manageable payment at a much lower rate. Combined with her pension and her son's help and the insurance money for the immediate crisis, suddenly what had seemed impossible was manageable. She wasn't rich, but she could pay her bills. She could keep her house. She could sleep at night. 3 weeks after I first met her, she came back to my office, and she looked like a different person. The hollow look in her eyes was gone. She had color in her face. She was actually smiling. She said, "Dr. Murphy, I need to tell you what happened, but even more than what happened in my circumstances, I need to tell you what happened in me." She said, "For the first 3 weeks, I did what you said even though I thought it was crazy. I felt relief even though nothing had changed. I felt gratitude even though I didn't see what I had to be grateful for. I felt peaceful even though my situation was terrifying. And slowly I started to notice I wasn't giving those bills so much power anymore. They were still there, but they didn't control my whole life. They didn't define my mood every single moment. I had found a place inside myself that was peaceful even when the outside was chaotic. And then," she said, "things started to happen. The insurance policy appeared. My son called with his offer. The banker mentioned consolidation. And here's what amazed me," she said. "Those solutions were probably always there. That insurance policy existed all along. My son probably wanted to help me all along but didn't know I needed it because I was too proud to say anything. Debt consolidation was always an option. I just didn't know about it. But when I was trapped in fear, when all I could feel was panic and desperation, I couldn't see any of it. I was blind to the solutions. But when I changed how I felt, when I started impressing my subconscious mind with relief and peace and gratitude instead of fear, it's like a door opened. Suddenly I could see paths I couldn't see before. Suddenly people wanted to help me. Suddenly solutions appeared." She leaned forward and said, "It wasn't magic. It was like you said. My subconscious mind was creating my reality based on what I was impressing on it. When I impressed fear, I got more to fear. When I impressed relief and peace, my subconscious went to work, creating circumstances to match that feeling. It brought the insurance information to my attention. It influenced my son at the right time. It guided me to the banker who mentioned consolidation. I didn't force any of this. I just changed my inner state, and the outer circumstances rearranged themselves to match. This is law, my friends. This is not coincidence or luck, or maybe it works sometimes. This is law as reliable as gravity. Your subconscious mind creates circumstances to match your dominant feeling state. If you're impressing it with fear and lack, you will experience more situations that cause fear and lack. If you impress it with faith and abundance, with the feeling of your desire already fulfilled, you will experience circumstances that match that feeling. This woman didn't need to know how the money would come. She didn't need to figure out the solution. Her job was simply to impress her subconscious mind with the end result, the feeling of having the bills paid, the feeling of relief and security. And her subconscious, which is infinitely intelligent, brought the solutions to her. Now, was this coincidence? Was this luck? No, this is law. When she stopped impressing her subconscious mind with fear and lack, when she started impressing it with the feeling of bills being paid and relief and peace, her subconscious mind began to rearrange circumstances to match that new impression. Opportunities that were always there became visible to her. People who wanted to help were drawn to help. Solutions appeared. This is how the law works. Your subconscious mind is infinitely intelligent. It knows how to solve every problem. But it can only work with the material you give it. If you give it fear, it creates more to fear. If you give it faith and the feeling of wishes fulfilled, it creates evidence of that fulfillment. And notice something else important here. She didn't need to know how the money would come. She didn't need to figure out the solution. Her job was simply to impress her subconscious mind with the end result, the feeling of having the bills paid. The subconscious handled all the details. It brought the insurance policy to her attention. It influenced her son at the right time. It guided her to the debt consolidation option. She didn't force any of this. She simply planted the seed in consciousness and let the law work. Now let me tell you about a businessman who came to me after losing everything. This man had built a fortune in the stock market. He had millions of dollars. He had the big house, the fancy cars, everything the world says equals success. And then the market crashed, and he lost it all. Everything. He came to me devastated, feeling cursed, wondering what he had done wrong to deserve this, and I asked him a question that changed his life. I said, "When you had the money, when you had those millions, how did you feel about it?" He thought for a moment, and then he admitted something. He said, "I was always worried about losing it. I never felt secure. I felt like I didn't really deserve it. Like it was too good to be true. Like any day the other shoe would drop and it would all disappear. I was afraid to spend it. I was afraid to enjoy it. I was constantly checking the market, constantly anxious." And there it was. He had money, but he had poverty consciousness. His subconscious mind was programmed for loss even while his bank account showed millions. And eventually, the outside had to match the inside. His subconscious created the very thing he feared because that's what he was impressing upon it day after day with his worry and his feeling of unworthiness. I explained this to him, and something shifted in his understanding. He realized that it's not about having money. It's about consciousness. You can be rich and have poverty consciousness, which means you'll lose the money. Or you can be temporarily without money but have wealth consciousness, which means the money must come. So I taught him to build wealth consciousness from the ground up, starting with nothing in his bank account but everything in his mind. I taught him to feel abundant even when his wallet was empty, to feel secure even when he didn't know where next month's rent would come from, to feel worthy of prosperity just by virtue of being a child of the infinite. Every day, he practiced this. He would wake up and say, "Infinite intelligence is my source. I am provided for. I am worthy of abundance." And he would feel it, really feel it in his body. He started with small things. He would find a penny on the street and say, "Thank you for this evidence of supply. Money is flowing to me." He would pay for a cup of coffee, and instead of resenting the expense, he would feel grateful he had money to spend and trust that more was coming. Slowly, his consciousness shifted. And as it shifted, opportunities began to appear. A friend offered him a job. Someone wanted his advice and paid him for it. An investment opportunity came along. Within a year, he had rebuilt a successful business. Within 3 years, he was financially comfortable again, but this time it was different. This time he had peace. He wasn't afraid of losing it because he knew the truth. His source wasn't the business or the bank account. His source was consciousness. As long as he maintained wealth consciousness, wealth must flow to him. This is such an important lesson. True wealth is an inner conviction, not an outer condition. You can have $1 million and be poor in consciousness. Or you can have $100 and be rich in consciousness. And consciousness is what creates your future, not your current circumstances, your consciousness. Now, I need to share something personal with you, because I think it will help you understand that I'm not just teaching theory. I lived this. In my early years as a minister, I was broke. I mean, really broke. I was living in one small room. I was eating one meal a day, and often it was just bread and tea. I had studied all the great spiritual texts. I understood intellectually how the mind works. I could quote scripture. I could explain the law of consciousness. But I was broke, and I was confused and frustrated. Why wasn't it working for me? One night, I was sitting in my room feeling very low. I had a speaking engagement the next day, and I was going to teach people about prosperity, but I didn't have money for bus fare to get there. I felt like a fraud, and in that moment of complete honesty with myself, I realized something that changed everything. I believed the principles, but I didn't believe they would work for me. I believed they worked for other people, special people, gifted people, people who were more worthy than me. Deep down, I felt like I wasn't good enough, like I didn't deserve prosperity, like these laws worked for everyone except Joseph Murphy. And once I saw that belief clearly, I knew what I had to do. I had to change it. That night, I began a practice that I continued every single night for months. I would lie in my bed, and instead of worrying about money or feeling sorry for myself, I would imagine that I was the person I wanted to be. Not in the future. Now. I would feel what it would be like to be a successful minister, helping people, speaking to large audiences, having my work recognized, having enough money to live comfortably and give generously. I didn't see myself as Joseph Murphy, the broke minister. I saw myself as Joseph Murphy, the prosperous teacher, and most importantly, I felt it. I let that feeling fill my entire being as I drifted off to sleep. Within weeks, things started to change. I received an invitation to speak at a larger church. Someone heard me speak and offered to help me publish a booklet. That booklet reached someone who offered me a radio program. That radio program reached thousands of people, and my work began to grow. Opportunities came that I never could have orchestrated. People appeared who wanted to help me. Doors opened that I didn't even know existed, and it all started from changing my inner conviction about myself. If it worked for me in my doubt, in my struggle, in my feeling of unworthiness, it will work for you. You don't have to be special. You don't have to be more spiritual. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to understand the law and apply it consistently. That's all. Now, there's something else I want you to understand about why you're watching this video right now. There are no coincidences. None. What you call coincidence is actually your subconscious mind communicating through circumstances. Your subconscious has been working beneath your conscious awareness. It's been sensing your readiness for change. It's been responding to your desire, even if that desire has been mixed with doubt, and it has arranged for you to be here right now, watching this because you're ready to hear this message and apply it. I've seen this pattern thousands of times. Someone finds one of my books in the most unusual place. A woman told me she found my book in a waiting room the day before she received a foreclosure notice on her home. A man told me he was sitting in his car, contemplating giving up on everything, and my radio program came on. He'd never heard of me before, but there I was, speaking directly to his situation. Another woman told me she was walking past a bookstore, and something made her stop and go in. She wasn't looking for anything specific, but her eyes went right to my book on the shelf. She bought it, read it that night, and it changed her life. This is not luck. This is the subconscious mind at work. Your subconscious knows what you need, and it guides you to it through what looks like coincidence but is actually law. The fact that you clicked on this video, that you're still here listening to me, this is evidence. Evidence that your subconscious is already working on your behalf. You're already being guided. You just need to learn the language so you can work with this power consciously instead of unconsciously. Let me tell you one more story before we move deeper into the teaching. This is a story about a farmer during the Great Depression. Times were hard for everyone, but especially for farmers. This particular man's crops kept failing, the weather wasn't cooperating, the prices were terrible even when he did have a harvest. The bank was threatening to take his land, the land his father had given him, the land he wanted to pass to his children. He was desperate. Someone told him about my work, and he came to see me. He said, "Dr. Murphy, I've been praying every night. I've been asking God to save my farm, but it keeps getting worse. What am I doing wrong?" I explained to him the principle of scientific prayer. I said, prayer is not begging God for something. God, the infinite intelligence, the creative power of the universe, it doesn't withhold good from you. It doesn't need to be convinced or persuaded. Prayer is aligning your consciousness with what already exists in the infinite. Everything exists now in potential. Your job is to select what manifests through your consciousness. I taught him a new kind of prayer. Instead of begging and pleading, instead of praying from desperation and fear, I taught him to pray from the end, to pray as if his desire were already fulfilled. Every evening, as the sun set over his struggling fields, he would stand there and say these words with feeling. Infinite intelligence is now revealing to me the perfect way forward. My land is blessed and productive. I am guided to the right actions and the right resources. Thank you for the abundance that is mine now. All is well. At first, it felt strange to him. How could he say thank you for abundance when his crops were dying? How could he say all is well when the bank was sending threatening letters? But I explained to him that he wasn't denying the current circumstances. He was impressing his subconscious mind with the solution, with the desired end, so that his subconscious could go to work creating it. He practiced this faithfully every single day, morning and evening, and he held the feeling of it being done. That season, unexpected things began to happen. Rain came at exactly the right time after a long drought. A traveling salesman stopped at his farm and told him about a new farming technique that was working for other farmers. He tried it, and it made a significant difference. A food company came through the area looking for a specific crop that this farmer happened to grow, and they wanted to buy his entire harvest at a price higher than market value. He was able to pay the bank. He kept his farm. He passed it on to his children, and he told me years later that he never stopped that prayer practice. Even when things were going well, he maintained that consciousness of gratitude and faith. Was this coincidence? Did God suddenly decide to help him? No. The infinite was always there, always ready to flow through him, but he had to open the channel through his consciousness. When he stopped praying from desperation and started praying from faith, from the feeling of the wish fulfilled, everything changed. His subconscious mind went to work. It made him receptive to the information he needed. It guided him to the right actions. It brought the right people at the right time. This is how the law works. Now, you've heard these stories, and maybe you're thinking, that's beautiful, but what's the principle underneath? What did these people actually do? Let me break it down for you piece by piece so you understand exactly how this works, because understanding is the foundation of faith, and faith is what activates the law. You have two minds, not two physical brains, not two separate entities, but two aspects of one mind working together. You have your conscious mind, which is the mind you're using right now to listen to me and understand these words. It's your reasoning mind, your thinking mind, your choosing mind. It's aware. It's logical. It can accept or reject ideas. It's the gatekeeper that decides what gets impressed on your subconscious. Your conscious mind is what separates humans from animals. It gives you the power to choose your thoughts, to reason, to plan, to imagine things that don't yet exist. And then you have your subconscious mind, which is beneath your awareness most of the time. You're not conscious of it working, but it's always working. It never sleeps. Right now, as you listen to me, your subconscious mind is beating your heart without you having to think about it. It's breathing your lungs. It's digesting your food. It's healing cuts and bruises. It's maintaining your body temperature. It's running millions of processes that keep you alive, and you don't have to consciously do any of it. Your subconscious mind is the doer, the builder, the creator. Now here's what you need to understand. Your conscious mind is like the captain of a ship. It gives the orders, it chooses the direction, it decides where you're going. But your subconscious mind is like the crew that actually runs the ship. The captain might say, "We're going to sail to India." But if the captain keeps changing his mind, or if he's giving contradictory orders, or if he's saying, "Let's go to India," but he's steering toward Africa, the ship is going to go nowhere, or end up somewhere completely different than intended. Your subconscious mind is like a garden, and this is one of the most important metaphors to understand. Imagine you have a beautiful plot of fertile soil. This soil is neutral. It has no opinions. It doesn't judge. If you plant tomatoes, it grows tomatoes. If you plant weeds, it grows weeds. It doesn't say, "Oh, tomatoes are good and weeds are bad, I'll only grow tomatoes." No. It grows whatever is planted in it. That's its nature. That's the law of its being. Your subconscious mind works exactly the same way. It accepts whatever you impress upon it with feeling, and it creates circumstances to match. It has no ability to reject. It has no ability to say, "This belief is good for you and this belief is bad for you." It simply accepts and creates. If you've been impressing it for years with worry about money, with the belief that money is hard, with the feeling of not enough, with anxiety every time you look at your bank account, with resentment when you have to pay bills, with envy when you see someone else succeeding, your subconscious mind has been faithfully creating circumstances to match those impressions. And here's what most people don't understand. Your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined, as long as the imagination is vivid and accompanied by feeling. If you vividly imagine something with emotion, your subconscious receives it as a real experience and begins to create circumstances to match it. This is why worry is so dangerous. When you worry about something, you're vividly imagining the thing you don't want, you're feeling the emotion of it, and your subconscious says, "Oh, this must be important since there's so much feeling attached to it, I'll create this." And then you experience the very thing you were worrying about and you say, "See, I knew it would happen." But you created it through your worry. The law is this. As you sow in your subconscious mind, so shall you reap in your circumstances. Sow thoughts and feelings of lack, and you reap experiences of lack. Sow thoughts and feelings of abundance, and you reap experiences of abundance. Sow fear, reap fearful situations. Sow faith, reap evidence of that faith. This is not punishment or reward. This is law. Impersonal, neutral, always operating law. And this law works for everyone, all the time, whether they know about it or not. It doesn't matter what your background is, what your education is, what mistakes you've made in the past, what your parents taught you, what society tells you. The law works. A person who understands this law and uses it deliberately will create entirely different circumstances than a person who doesn't understand it and is using it unconsciously, accidentally impressing poverty and limitation. Think about your life right now. Your current circumstances, your current financial situation, your current relationships, your current health. Everything in your life right now is the harvest of seeds you planted in the past through your habitual thoughts and feelings. If you don't like the harvest, you don't complain about the harvest. You change what you're planting. You start planting new seeds today, and in time you'll see a new harvest. Your subconscious mind is working right now. This very second. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. It's creating your tomorrow based on what you're impressing on it today. Every thought that's accompanied by feeling, every mental image you dwell on, every belief you hold, it's all being received by your subconscious and being translated into your future circumstances. The question is not whether it's working. The question is, what are you impressing upon it? What seeds are you planting? Are you impressing poverty consciousness or wealth consciousness? Fear or faith? Lack or abundance? Limitation or possibility? And here's something else crucial. Your subconscious mind is connected to infinite intelligence. Some people call this God, some call it universal mind, some call it the quantum field. The name doesn't matter. What matters is that your subconscious mind has access to information and resources that your conscious mind could never access. Your conscious mind is limited. It can only see what's right in front of it, what's obvious, what it's experienced before. But your subconscious mind is connected to all the wisdom, all the intelligence, all the creative power of the universe. When you impress your desire upon your subconscious mind and then let go and trust, your subconscious goes to work through channels you could never consciously imagine or orchestrate. This is why people who trust their intuition, their gut feelings, their inner guidance, often succeed in ways that seem miraculous to others. They're tapped into their subconscious connection to infinite intelligence. You've probably experienced this yourself. You think of someone and they call. You have a hunch about something and it turns out to be right. You feel drawn to go somewhere and you meet exactly the person you needed to meet. That's not coincidence. That's your subconscious mind connected to infinite intelligence, guiding you through feelings and hunches and synchronicities. So when you impress your subconscious mind with the feeling of financial abundance, with the conviction that you're provided for, with faith in the infinite supply, you're not just changing your own mind. You're activating a connection to infinite intelligence that knows how to bring your desire into manifestation through ways and means you could never figure out consciously. This is why you don't need to know how your desire will manifest. Trying to figure out how actually limits the possibilities. Your job is to impress the desire with feeling. Infinite intelligence's job is the how. Now, most people say, but I'm trying to think positively about money. I say affirmations. I tell myself I'm going to be rich. Why isn't it working? And this is where we need to get very clear about something important. Affirmations often fail, and I'll tell you exactly why. Most people affirm from a place of lack. They say, I am rich, while feeling poor. They say, I am abundant, while their stomach is tight with anxiety. They say, money flows to me easily, while simultaneously worrying about how they'll pay next month's rent. The subconscious mind doesn't respond to your words, it responds to the feeling beneath the words. If you're saying I am wealthy but you're feeling broke, which message do you think your subconscious receives? The feeling. Always the feeling. You could say affirmations all day long, but if the emotional state underneath is fear and lack, you're impressing your subconscious with fear and lack, and it will create more situations for you to feel fearful and lacking. This is why feeling is the secret. Not thinking, not affirming, feeling. Your subconscious mind speaks the language of emotion, of sensation, of feeling. To impress it effectively, you must feel your desire as already accomplished, not someday in the future. Now, in your consciousness now. This is what Jesus meant when he said, "Whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours." Not believe you will receive it, believe you have received it. Present tense. The believing isn't intellectual. It's a felt sense. It's a conviction in your entire being. So how do you generate this feeling? You close your eyes. You imagine the end result of your desire, and you ask yourself, how would I feel if this were already true? If I already had financial freedom, how would I feel? You would feel relief. You would feel secure. You would feel peaceful. You would feel grateful. You would feel expansive. You would feel free. Those feelings, that's what you need to generate in your consciousness now. Not when the money comes. Now, you generate the feeling first, and the feeling creates the circumstances. This is the opposite of how most people live. Most people say, "I'll feel abundant when I have money." No. You feel abundant now, and then the money comes. The feeling is the seed. The money is the harvest. You don't wait for harvest time to plant seeds. You plant seeds, and then harvest comes. Plant the feeling of abundance in your consciousness. Water it with faith. Protect it from the weeds of doubt, and the harvest must come. This is law. And the best time to plant these seeds is right before sleep. Why? Because in the moments before you fall asleep, your conscious mind relaxes. The gatekeeper gets drowsy. The critical faculty is less active. And suggestions enter your subconscious mind very deeply. This is why I teach people to use the time right before sleep very deliberately. Don't fall asleep worrying about your problems. Don't fall asleep watching the news or thinking about what went wrong today. Fall asleep in the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Fall asleep feeling abundant, secure, provided for, blessed. As you drift off to sleep in that feeling, you impress it deeply into your subconscious mind. And your subconscious works all night long, rearranging, creating, preparing circumstances to match that impression. Do this every night for 30 days and your life must change. Not because of magic, because of law. The law of consciousness. The law of mind. The law that says your outer world is a perfect reflection of your inner world. Now, after you've done this, after you've impressed your subconscious with the feeling of your wish fulfilled, there's something else you must do. You must rest in the conviction that it's done. This is what the Bible calls the Sabbath. It's the rest after creation. God created for 6 days and rested on the seventh because creation was complete. You must do the same in consciousness. After you've planted the seed, you don't dig it up every day to check if it's growing. You trust, you rest, you have faith. This is where most people sabotage themselves. They do the work of impressing the subconscious. They feel the wish fulfilled. And then the very next morning they wake up and say, "Did it work yet? Is the money here? Why isn't anything changing? Maybe this doesn't work. Maybe I'm doing it wrong." And with every one of those doubting thoughts, they're digging up the seed. They're destroying the impression they worked so hard to create. You must maintain the conviction that it is done. I don't know how it will happen. I don't know when it will happen. But I know it's done in consciousness, and therefore it must appear in my world. This is faith. This is the Sabbath rest. This is letting go and letting God. Your job is the what and the feeling. What do you want? How would it feel to have it? Impress that on your subconscious. God's job, infinite intelligence's job, your subconscious mind's job, is the how and the when. You don't need to figure out how the money will come. In fact, if you try to figure it out with your limited conscious mind, you'll probably limit the ways it can come. Your subconscious mind is infinitely intelligent. It knows ways and means that your conscious mind could never imagine. Let it work. Trust it. Rest in the conviction that it's done. When doubt comes, and it will come because you've been programmed with doubt for years, don't fight it. Don't say, "I'm not supposed to doubt." Just gently return to the feeling. Return to the conviction. Return to the faith. It's like training a muscle. At first it's weak, but the more you practice, the stronger it gets. And I need to tell you something about anxiety. When you're worried about when the money will come, that anxiety is evidence of disbelief. True faith is peaceful. It doesn't rush. It doesn't panic. It knows. In quietness and confidence shall be your strength, the Bible says. When you're truly convinced in consciousness that your desire is fulfilled, You're at peace. You're calm. You might not see the evidence yet in the physical world, but you know it's coming as surely as you know spring follows winter. Now let me talk about something that might seem contradictory but is actually very important. The law of circulation. The universe operates on a principle of flow. Everything is constantly circulating. Your breath goes in and out, the tides go in and out, energy flows in and flows out, money is no different, it must circulate. And if you're tight, fearful, clutching, trying to hold on to every penny, you stop the flow. You're like someone trying to breathe in without ever breathing out. It doesn't work. Feeling abundant is not about the amount of money you have, it's about your consciousness toward money. You can have $10 and feel abundant by being grateful for that $10. You can have $10,000 and feel poor by worrying it's not enough. The amount doesn't determine your consciousness. Your consciousness determines what amount flows to you. So you must feel abundant now, regardless of your current circumstances. When you pay a bill, pay it with gratitude. Thank you that I have money to pay for this electricity that lights my home. Thank you that I have money for this food that nourishes my body. I am grateful. Money flows to me easily and I circulate it with joy. This changes the energy completely. Most people pay bills with resentment, with that feeling of, there goes more money, I'll never get ahead. Every time you do that, you're telling your subconscious that money is painful, that having money leave you is bad, that you don't have enough. And your subconscious creates more situations where money is painful and scarce. But when you shift to gratitude, to the recognition that money circulating through you is good, is evidence of supply, you impress your subconscious with abundance, and it creates more abundance. There's a saying, what you appreciate, appreciates. What you're grateful for, increases. This is law. Start blessing your money. Start being grateful for every dollar that comes to you and every dollar that goes from you, knowing it's all circulation, it's all flow, and what flows out comes back multiplied when you maintain the consciousness of abundance. And here's something else. When you see someone with wealth, with the car you want, or the house you want, or the lifestyle you want, what's your first reaction? For most people, it's envy or resentment or judgment. They're probably greedy. They probably don't deserve it. Must be nice to have money handed to you. Every time you think thoughts like that, you're creating a barrier between yourself and wealth. You're telling your subconscious that wealth is bad, that wealthy people are bad, and your subconscious protects you by keeping wealth away. You must change this. When you see someone with what you desire, bless them. Silently say, I bless that person's abundance. I'm so happy for them. There's plenty for everyone. What I see in them, I attract to myself. This completely changes your consciousness. You're acknowledging that abundance exists, you're celebrating it, and you're opening yourself to receive it. What you bless in others, you attract to yourself. This is law. Now, there's another block I see in so many people, and we need to address it directly. Guilt and unworthiness around money. Maybe you were raised being told that money is the root of all evil. That's a misquote, by the way. The Bible says the love of money is the root of all evil. Not money itself. Money is neutral. It's what you do with it that matters. But so many people carry this unconscious belief that wanting money makes them less spiritual, that if they were really good people, they wouldn't care about money. Let me tell you something clearly. Poverty helps no one. You cannot lift others while you're drowning yourself. Financial freedom gives you the ability to serve more fully, to give more generously, to create more beauty in the world. There is nothing spiritual about being broke. Jesus was not poor. He had supporters who provided for him. He wore a seamless robe that was valuable enough for soldiers to gamble over it. He fed 5,000 people. He had a treasurer. He understood abundance. And he taught, give and it shall be given unto you, pressed down, shaken together, running over. That's abundance consciousness, not poverty consciousness. Some people believe that if they were really spiritual, they wouldn't want material things. This is a false teaching that has kept good people in bondage. You are a spiritual being in a physical world. You need money to live in this world. There's nothing wrong with desiring comfort, security, the ability to help your family, the freedom to pursue your purpose. The question is not whether you want money. The question is what's the consciousness behind that desire. If you want money so you can lord it over others, so you can feel superior, so you can just hoard it and not use it for good, then yes, that's a problem. But if you want money so you can provide for your loved ones, so you can give generously, so you can create, so you can live without constant stress and fear, that desire is holy. God wants you to prosper. Infinite intelligence wants to flow through you as abundance. And some people carry a belief from childhood. My family was always poor, so I'll always be poor. It's just the way it is for people like me. This is a lie. Your past does not determine your future. Your parents' consciousness does not determine your consciousness unless you let it. You are not destined to repeat their patterns. You have the power to choose differently. You have the power to change your consciousness, and when you change your consciousness, you change your destiny. I want you to do something right now, even as you're listening to me. Think about your beliefs about money. What do you really believe about money deep down? Is it hard to get? Do you have to sacrifice to get it? Do rich people have some advantage you don't have? Are you not the kind of person who has money? Write these beliefs down if you can. Look at them. Ask yourself, where did this belief come from? Did my parents teach me this? Did I learn it from my church? From society? And then ask the most important question. Is it true? Or is it just a belief I've been carrying and I can choose a new belief? You can release these old beliefs. You can say, this belief served me in the past, perhaps it even protected me in some way, but I now release it with love. I now choose to believe that I am worthy of wealth, that money is good when used wisely, that the infinite wants me to prosper, that my prosperity helps others and allows me to serve more fully. I now accept my good. I now claim my inheritance as a child of the abundant universe. When you root out these false beliefs and replace them with truth, you remove the blocks, you clear the channel, and abundance can flow to you as naturally as water flows downhill. Now let me teach you about scientific prayer, because this is the method that never fails when applied correctly. Most people pray from desperation. They beg, they plead. Please God, I really need money. Please help me. I'll do anything. Just give me this. If you could just do this one thing for me. That's not prayer. That's begging. And it comes from the consciousness of lack, from the feeling that God is withholding and you have to convince Him to give you something. True prayer is completely different. True prayer is knowing. It's alignment. It's recognition. You're not trying to convince God to give you something. Infinite intelligence, God, the creative power of the universe, it's not withholding anything from you. Everything already exists in the infinite. Everything is available. Your job is not to create it or convince God to create it. Your job is to align your consciousness with it so it can flow into your experience. Think of it like a radio. The music is always broadcasting, always. But you only hear it when you tune your radio to the right frequency. God is always broadcasting abundance, always. But you only experience it when you tune your consciousness to the frequency of abundance. Prayer is tuning your consciousness. So, proper prayer sounds like this. Infinite intelligence is now bringing to me everything I need for abundance and prosperity. I am guided. I am provided for. I am blessed. I accept this now with gratitude. I know that the infinite substance is flowing into my life now, taking form as money, as opportunities, as resources, as support. I claim my divine inheritance. I am a child of the Most High, and all that the Father has is mine. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Amen. You say this with conviction, with feeling, with the deep knowing that it is true, not hoping it's true, knowing it's true. This is the prayer of faith. This is scientific prayer. And then you release it. You don't keep praying the same prayer over and over as if God didn't hear you the first time. You pray once with absolute conviction, and then you rest in the knowing that it is done. It is finished. The law is now working. The formula is simple. Thanksgiving plus conviction plus release equals manifestation. You give thanks for what you're claiming as if you already have it. You hold the conviction that it's true and real in consciousness now. And you release it. You let it go. You trust the law to bring it into physical form in the perfect way and at the perfect time. Do not pray like this. Please God, if you could maybe, possibly, if it's not too much trouble, give me some money because I really need it and I'm desperate. That prayer is filled with doubt, with uncertainty, with lack. Your subconscious receives the doubt and the lack, not the request. Instead, pray like this. Thank you, Father, for the abundance that is mine now. I claim my divine inheritance. I accept it in consciousness now. All is well. That prayer is filled with faith, with certainty, with abundance. Your subconscious receives faith and abundance and creates circumstances to match. Now I want to teach you something else important. The signs that money is coming before you actually see it in your bank account. Because there's often a lag between the shift in consciousness and the physical manifestation. And it's in this lag time that most people give up. They think it's not working. They lose faith. They go back to the old thinking. And they abort the whole process right before the breakthrough. So, I want you to know the signs to look for. When your consciousness shifts, when you're doing this work correctly, here's what starts to happen. First, you feel more peaceful about money. The constant anxiety starts to lift. You're not thinking about bills every 5 minutes. You're not waking up at night worrying. There's a sense of calm, of trust, that wasn't there before. That's the first sign. Peace. Second, you start noticing opportunities you didn't see before. Maybe someone mentions something and you think, that's interesting, I could do that. Or you see a job posting you never would have considered before. Or you have an idea for a side business. Your awareness is expanding. You're being guided. Third, people start showing up offering help or advice or connections. Seemingly out of nowhere, someone says, hey, I know someone who's looking for exactly what you offer. Or, here's some information that might help you. These are not coincidences. Your subconscious is orchestrating these meetings. Fourth, unexpected doors open. You get approved for something you thought you'd be rejected for. You receive a refund you'd forgotten about. Someone wants to buy something you were going to throw away. Small things start working in your favor. This is evidence the tide is turning. Fifth, you feel a sense of flow, of luck, like things are easier. You catch green lights. You find parking spaces. You get helpful customer service. This might seem unrelated to money, but it's not. It's evidence that your consciousness has shifted to a more positive frequency, and life is flowing more easily. Sixth, synchronicities increase. You think of someone and they call, you need information, and you overhear someone talking about exactly that. You open a book to the exact page you needed. Your subconscious is communicating through circumstances, and you're becoming aware of it. Seventh, you have dreams about abundance. You might dream about finding money, about receiving gifts, about being in beautiful places. Your subconscious is processing the new programming. Eighth, you feel pulled toward certain actions, not forced, not should, but a gentle inner knowing. I should call this person. I should look into this opportunity. I should go to this place. Follow these gentle urgings. That's your subconscious guiding you. All of these are signs that the seed has been planted and roots are growing underground. You may not see the sprout yet, but it's coming. Trust the process. Don't give up. The breakthrough is often right around the corner when people give up because they don't see immediate results. Some things manifest in days, some take weeks or months, not because the law is slow, but because sometimes substantial rearrangements need to happen. Trust the timing. If you plant an apple seed, you don't get an apple tree the next week. You wait. But you don't dig up the seed every day to check if it's growing. You trust the process of growth. Do the same with your desires. Plant the seed in consciousness through feeling. Water it with faith. Protect it from doubt. And the harvest will come in the right season. Now, I've given you a lot of information, a lot of understanding, but knowing is not enough. You must practice. So I'm going to give you specific practices to start immediately. These are simple, but don't let the simplicity fool you. These practices, done consistently, will reprogram your subconscious mind and change your financial reality. The first practice is what I call the evening prosperity impression. This is the most important practice. Do this every single night without exception. Here's how it works. When you lie down in bed at night, before you go to sleep, this is your work time. Close your eyes, take 3 deep breaths to relax your body. Now imagine a scene that implies your financial wish is fulfilled. Don't imagine the money itself. Imagine what having the money means. Maybe you're looking at your bank statement with a big smile on your face. Maybe you're paying your bills with ease and gratitude. Maybe you're saying to a friend, I'm so grateful for how well everything is working out financially. Maybe you're doing something you've always wanted to do but couldn't afford, like taking a trip or taking your family to a nice dinner. Whatever scene you choose, the important thing is that it implies the wish fulfilled. And here's the key. Don't watch yourself in the scene like you're watching a movie. Be in the scene. First-person perspective. See it through your own eyes. Feel it. What's the feeling? Is it relief? Is it joy? Is it gratitude? Is it security? Is it freedom? Get into that feeling. Let it wash over your entire body. Savor it. Dwell in it. And as you feel it, as you bask in that feeling, let yourself drift off to sleep. Fall asleep in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Do this every single night, for 30 days minimum. Don't miss a night. If you miss a night, start your count over. This is how serious you need to be about reprogramming your subconscious. As you fall asleep in this feeling night after night, you're impressing it deeply into your subconscious mind. Your subconscious is most receptive in those moments right before sleep. That's when the conscious mind relaxes its guard and suggestions enter very deeply. Night after night, you're planting seeds. And the harvest must come. It has to. It's law. Now some of you will say, but I can't feel it. I try to feel abundant, but I just feel fake. Here's what you do. Start by remembering a time when you did feel really good. Maybe when you got good news. Maybe when you were with someone you love. Maybe when you accomplished something. Get into that good feeling first, really feel it, and then transfer that feeling to your financial vision. The feeling doesn't have to be specifically about money. It just has to be a genuinely good feeling that you then associate with your financial desire. Some of you will say, I fall asleep too fast. Perfect. That means the feeling is entering your subconscious right as you drift off, which is exactly what we want. If your mind wanders, and it will, just gently bring it back to the scene and the feeling. Don't get frustrated with yourself. This is practice. It gets easier the more you do it. The second practice is what I call the gratitude reframe. This transforms your relationship with bills and expenses. Right now, every time you pay for something, you probably feel that little sting. Oh no. There goes more money. I can't afford this. This is so expensive. With every one of those thoughts, you're programming poverty into your subconscious. We're going to change that. From now on, every time you pay for anything at all, pause for just 1 second, take a breath, and consciously think or say, I pay this with gratitude. I'm grateful for this electricity that lights my home. I'm grateful for this water. I'm grateful for this food. I'm grateful I have money to pay for this. Money circulates through me easily and returns to me multiplied. And then feel gratitude even if it's small. Even if it feels forced at first, do it anyway. You're training a new pattern. Money is not being taken from you. Money is flowing through you. What flows out comes back. This is circulation. This is the law of flow. And as you start to associate money leaving your hands with gratitude instead of resentment, your whole energy around money changes. You stop being tight and fearful. You become open and flowing, and abundance flows to those who are open, not to those who are clenched. Advanced version of this practice. When you see someone with something you want, a nice car, a beautiful home, expensive clothes, instead of envy or resentment, immediately say silently, I bless that person's abundance. I'm so happy for them. There's enough for everyone. What I see in them, I attract to myself. This removes the block of envy and opens you to receive the same abundance. Try it. You'll be amazed at how it shifts your energy. The third practice is the assumption walk. Once a day, for just 10 minutes, take a walk or sit somewhere public and consciously embody the state of being financially free. For these 10 minutes, you're not hoping to be wealthy. You are assuming you already are. How would you walk if you were already financially free? Probably more relaxed, more confident, more present. How would you look at the world? With appreciation, not desperation. How would you feel in your body? Probably lighter, less tense. If you walk past a store, you wouldn't automatically think I can't afford anything in there. You'd think, do I want anything in there? Do you feel the difference? One is lack. One is choice. For 10 minutes, embody this state fully. Practice being the wealthy version of you. Not acting fake, but assuming the feeling of financial freedom. And here's what's important. This is not about spending money you don't have. You don't actually have to buy anything. This is about the internal state. You can window shop and practice choosing. I could get that, but I prefer this. Very different from I can't afford anything. The first is choice and abundance. The second is lack and limitation. Do this daily, and you'll notice you start carrying yourself differently. You make different choices. You attract different opportunities. People respond to you differently. You're training your subconscious through repeated experience of the state you want to live in. The fourth practice is the revision technique. Every evening, review your day's financial interactions, and if there were any that felt negative, revise them in your imagination. Maybe today your card got declined and you felt embarrassed. Maybe someone made a comment about your old car and you felt shame. Maybe you couldn't afford something and you felt poor. In your evening review, replay those scenes in your imagination. But this time, revise them. The card went through smoothly and you felt abundant. Someone complimented your car and you felt proud. You chose not to buy something because you preferred to spend your money elsewhere, not because you couldn't afford it. Why does this work? Because your subconscious doesn't distinguish between actual experiences and vividly imagined experiences. Both create impressions. By revising the story, you prevent the negative impression from solidifying. You replace it with a positive impression. And over time, as you do this regularly, you train your subconscious to expect positive financial experiences. And what you expect, you create. Do this every evening. Review the day. Revise anything negative. Fall asleep having rewritten the story. This is what the Bible means by repent. To repent means to revise, to think differently. You're not condemned by what happened today. You can revise it in consciousness and create a better tomorrow. The fifth practice is your personal prosperity decree. This is a statement you create that resonates with you personally, and you repeat it multiple times a day with conviction. Let me give you some examples, and you can choose one or create your own. Infinite intelligence is my constant supply. Money flows to me easily and frequently from expected and unexpected sources. Or, I am a magnet for prosperity. Wealth and abundance are drawn to me now. Or, every day in every way I am growing richer and more financially secure. Or, my subconscious mind is now impressing my good upon my world. I am provided for abundantly. Choose a statement that feels true to you, or create your own. Keep it present tense, keep it positive, keep it about what you want, not what you're avoiding. Make it feeling-based. Then say it 3 times in the morning when you wake up, 3 times in the middle of the day, 3 times before you sleep. Say it with conviction, with feeling. Don't just repeat it robotically. Mean it every time. Feel the truth of it as you say it. Do this for 30 to 90 days and you will not recognize your financial reality. Each repetition with feeling is a deposit in your consciousness bank. Day by day you're building wealth consciousness. And remember, consciousness creates circumstances. Change the consciousness and the circumstances must follow. If your statement feels false when you say it, choose something you can believe. If I am a millionaire feels too far away, start with something like, I am open to receiving financial good now. Or, I am willing to believe that prosperity is possible for me. Start where you can believe, and as your consciousness expands, you can expand your statement. One more advanced tip. Record yourself saying your prosperity decree with passion and conviction. Listen to it on repeat as you fall asleep. Your subconscious will absorb it all night long. This is incredibly powerful. So those are your 5 practices: the evening prosperity impression, the gratitude reframe, the assumption walk, the revision technique, the prosperity decree. Do all 5 consistently for 30 days. Don't skip days. Don't do them half-heartedly. Commit fully, and watch what happens. Now we're coming to the end of our time together, and I want to leave you with some final thoughts. We've covered so much, but if you take away only one thing, let it be this. You are not at the mercy of circumstances. You never have been. Your subconscious mind is creating your world every single moment, and it's taking its orders from you, from your habitual feelings, from your dominant assumptions, from your persistent beliefs. You have the power to change those feelings, those assumptions, those beliefs, and when you change them, your world must change with them. This is not hope. This is not positive thinking. This is law, mental law, spiritual law, the law of consciousness. The fact that you found this video, that you've stayed with me this long, this is not coincidence. This is evidence. Evidence that something in you is ready to change. Your subconscious brought you here because you're prepared to hear this message and apply it. You're ready. You don't need to change your whole life overnight. You don't need to understand everything perfectly. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to start. Start tonight. Tonight, before you sleep, feel what it's like to be financially free. Just for 3 minutes. Feel it. Really feel it. Tomorrow, pay one bill with gratitude instead of resentment. Walk for 10 minutes as if you're already the person you're becoming. These small, consistent steps reprogram your subconscious. And when your subconscious shifts, your whole world must shift with it. This is law, not hope, law. I've been where you are. I've felt the fear. I've known the struggle. I've doubted whether these principles would work for me. But I applied them anyway. And my life changed. Not overnight, but it changed. And then I spent my entire life teaching these principles to others and watching their lives change. I've seen thousands of transformations. I've received thousands of letters from people telling me their stories. The woman who went from foreclosure to financial freedom. The man who built a business from nothing. The elderly person who found unexpected supply. The young person who overcame poverty consciousness from their childhood. It works. When you work it, it works. So please, don't just listen to this and think it's beautiful and then go back to your old ways. Apply it. Practice it. Live it. Your financial freedom depends on it, not because I say so, because the law says so. Now I want to leave you with an affirmation, and I want you to say this with me right now, either out loud or in your mind, with feeling. Say it with me. Infinite intelligence is my constant and abundant supply. Money flows to me freely, easily, and frequently. I am worthy of prosperity. I accept it now. I claim my divine inheritance now. Thank you, Father, for the abundance that is mine now. All is well, and so it is. Amen. Feel that. Let it settle into your heart. Let it sink into your subconscious mind. You've just planted a seed. Water it with faith and watch it grow. Before you go, I want to ask you something. If this resonated with you, if you feel something shifting inside, click that subscribe button right now. I have so much more I want to share with you. More principles, more practices, more truth about the power of your own mind, more ways to transform your life from the inside out. Subscribe so you don't miss anything. And do me a favor, if this helped you, if you feel hope for the first time in a long time, if something I said clicked for you, hit that like button. It helps this message reach other people who need to hear it, people whose subconscious mind is right now guiding them toward this truth. Your click might be what brings this message to someone who desperately needs it. And finally, drop a comment below. Tell me, what's one practice you're going to start tonight? Are you going to do the evening prosperity impression? The gratitude reframe? Tell me, or tell me about a time when you experienced synchronicity, when something came to you at the perfect moment, when you felt guided. I love hearing your stories. Your testimony might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to believe this is possible for them too. Remember this truth, money is not your source. Infinite intelligence is your source. God is your source. The creative power of the universe is your source. Money is just one form, one channel, through which the infinite supply flows to you. There are countless channels. Open your consciousness, and the supply must flow. Stop worrying about the specific channel. Trust the source. Align your consciousness with abundance, and it will find ways to reach you that you could never have orchestrated with your limited human mind. Go in peace, my friend. Go in prosperity. Go with the absolute knowing that you are blessed, that you are provided for, that infinite intelligence is working in your life right now, at this very moment, arranging circumstances for your highest good. You are not alone. You are never alone. You are supported by the entire universe. All you have to do is open your consciousness to receive. I believe in you. I believe in these principles. I've seen them work too many times to doubt. And now it's your turn. Your turn to prove to yourself that this works. Your turn to experience the joy of watching your consciousness create your reality. Your turn to be free. Until we meet again, God bless you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your willingness to grow and change. The world needs people like you who are willing to rise above limitation and step into abundance. Not for selfish reasons, but so you can serve more fully, give more generously, and be the light you were meant to be. Go now and apply what you've learned. Start tonight. Don't wait. Your new life begins the moment you begin to think and feel differently. That moment is now. All is well, and so it is. Amen.